Welcome to Hard Locks here on the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel. I am Garrett Burroughs, and somewhere down there is Alex Chick, aka Chickster. How are we doing?
I'm here. It's been a day. I don't like losing. Right now I'm losing. I don't like losing, so I'm gonna be grumpy until I win.
That is
Yeah.
fair. Alex is down 2 games on the official scorecard so far through 2 weeks. I am 13-7. Alex is 11-9. But interesting slate of games this week. Alex might be able to make a little ground. We're going to jump right into it. Our first game on the ESPN College Pick'em is Kansas State, ranked 15th in the country, getting their 5.5 point favorites on the road against Missouri. Alex, not a lot of people are back in Missouri in this one. Are you?
I was about to say who the fuck is picking Missouri? Like who the fuck? It's Kansas State. I don't, and it's by less than a touchdown. Yeah, this is almost a gimme. I wouldn't say it's free money because I don't know necessarily how Kansas State operates and everything. But I don't know. This just looks like a gimme to me. I won't scream it out as free money, but it's. I think everyone should be picking Kansas State.
I also would agree with that. I think what could be interesting is, going against the SEC team on the road. Missouri has been a kind of a weird place to play for some teams. Georgia, I think, went into Missouri last year and barely escaped with a win. Now I know that is it's an all SEC game, might be a little bit different, but Georgia, I believe, just escaped with a win against Missouri last year. So a little bit hard of a place to play, but I'm also taking Kansas State -5.5. Our next game up here is the 1-1 LSU Tigers, favored by almost double-digit points, going into Starkville to play the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Alex, what are your thoughts?
This is as even as it can get, and the the intrigue on this game is like, well, which LSU are we getting? Are we getting the one that came out that week one and looked awful, or the one that last week showed that they could play a little bit? You're not a Brian Kelly guy. I'm a Brian. I like Brian Kelly, but that might be just my Notre Dame biased. But this is a 10 point. I personally took LSU on this. I'm hoping that we get the LSU that we saw last week and they build on that. But they can't go with that first LSU week was horrible, and really their quarterback sucks. I don't think he's good at all. So kind of just depends on which LSU. I'm not really sure too much about Mississippi State. They are 2-0. And they're at home. They might play. They might beat LSU. I'm like this one. This one's one of the tougher ones to pick this week.
I am going to go with Mississippi State getting almost 10 points at home, only because, like you just said, we have no clue what LSU team we're getting.
Yeah.
Jade Daniels has been so up and down to start the year. He's got the weapons on the offense, but it's all mental, it seems like at this point. I think that with all the question marks surrounding who are we going to get, I think almost getting 10 points is too tempting for me to not take. So I'm going to take Mississippi
I
State.
think that's why it's 50-50. I think this was super like this is.
Yeah, that one's a rough one to pick. I can see why everyone would be split. All right, going up to our third game of the week
Do,
so far.
do we have to talk about this one? I think it's Penn State. Is anyone taking Illinois? Are you taking Illinois? You're a Penn State guy.
I've jumped on the bandwagon this year. I'm eating all the cheese on Penn State, but that's 2 touchdowns.
What? Penn State can't beat Illinois by 2 touchdowns?
Listen. Conference games are weird, man, especially in the Big Ten. Things can get crazy. I'm gonna take Penn State as well. It feels
I
weird.
was like, it's Penn State. What are we
It feels
talking
weird
about?
not to pick Penn State, but that one's a weird one. That one's a bit of a weird one, I think. We've got Vendetta's favorite right now. James Herrick and I are all over Florida State this year to be a potential
Good team.
playoff team. They are 27.5 point favorites against Boston College on the road. Is this another one where we can just kind of chalk it up?
Yep. This might be a very short video, just because I don't know. I don't think this is too terribly hard. I think the Knowles have proved, and the community agrees they're third in the nation right now. Until they get proven otherwise. You should ride with the Knowles. That's a 4 touchdown thing, and you're getting the hook with the 4 touchdowns. So They're up by 4 touchdowns. And I think the Noles are 4 touchdowns better than the Boston College Eagles, unfortunately. So I
This
don't know.
this also kind of seems like just a landslide victory for Florida State. I'm with you as well. This one, this should be an interesting game to pick. Alabama coming off of the loss at home against Texas should be motivated as hell to go get some
Or
lick
South
backs.
Florida.
I mean, yeah,
Or
South Florida here might lose by 50.
yeah.
This might not be close. I think both of us are taking Alabama, I'm assuming.
Yes. I'm
Of
actually taking.
course.
I'm a big favorites. Some of these big spreads I actually took this week, so have to buy some of the
You
cheese.
have said in video past that you are a big favorite spread guy, so I
Yeah.
can understand that. Although that bit you in the butt last week with Georgia and Ball State,
Can we
where
talk about that? That shit was bullshit. One
for
point. One.
for those of you who may not have watched the video last week, go ahead and watch that. If you haven't, I believe one of the first games on the docket
It was.
was
It was
Georgia
the
State was
first one.
minus 42.5 at home against Ball State. Alex ate the cheese and took the big points.
I didn't eat the cheese. It was 1 point. That shit was bullshit.
Alex took Georgia and I took Ball State, and the final score was 45-3. So Ball State covered because of the hook.
That's just horrible.
So we'll have to see if I think some of these teams getting big points this week might not be as close as it's seeming like it might be. We've got an interesting one here. We've got the 2-1 Aztecs going into Oregon State to play the Beavers, and DJU. That's what we're gonna call him because
I always call him DJU.
Because I may not be as bad at pronouncing names as you are, but that is a name that I'm not gonna be able to get.
That's a unique one.
DJU is what we're gonna call him in the Oregon State
Hey,
Beavers.
there was a time in the Slack channel that we were not allowed to say DJU because Trey was drafting him in his fantasy league, and so any record of that dude's name in the chat was getting deleted. That's when he was still with what was it, Clemson?
Mm-hmm.
When he was with Clemson, and so everything got deleted because he was going to draft him, and then he ended up stinking it up, and he cut him anyway. So, but I think that's the big story. It's going to be DJU. Is DJU and the Beavers, 24 points better than the Aztecs? And I'm not necessarily buying all of that into there. He's been known to stink it up in the past. He is playing better this year. Looks a little bit more controlled. He does have an arm. He does have arm talent, but I agree with the majority here on the Aztecs. I think the Aztecs can cover 24 points.
I'm also taking the points as well. It's not necessarily a slight against DJU. I just think that San Diego State's a decent team this year, and I think that with it not being such a heavy travel, like if they were going towards the East Coast or anything like that, might not be that big of a deal. We are going to move on to our next game. Look at Georgia Bulldogs back in the slate again, playing host to South Carolina, 27.5 point underdogs. Now the question is Alex going to eat is he going to eat the Georgia cheese?
It's not because of last week. I actually think that South Carolina can cover. Spencer Rattler, even when he was with Oklahoma, he's very talented. His ego got in the way. I think he's kind of got his ego checked, and the talent's still there. I think they can cover 27. I mean, Georgia's got to be 4 touchdowns better. I think they can actually cover that. The UNC game wasn't close, but they did win last week. I forgot who they won against, but and they played a lot better. So I think they can. Georgia has had a great run of being really good. I don't think they're that good as they have been in years past, if that makes sense. That Georgia defense, which is now basically the Philadelphia Eagles defense, is, that they're not all there anymore. They still have dogs on the floor, but they still got dogs on the field, but not as good as those guys in the years past. But they're still really good. Georgia should win this game, but I'm not giving them the 28 points. And if Georgia covers by 28 points, I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
And Alex is he's gonna veto every single time Georgia's up. He's just not gonna make a pick.
I'm just neutral, tie, whatever. I can't do it.
I've got a hot take. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
I I haven't looked yet, so I don't know what the odds are. I would consider putting money down on South Carolina first half money line.
I think that's not a bad bet.
I think South Carolina could go into the half up like 13-10, 16-13, 16-10, and then Georgia turns on in the second half, but doesn't have enough time to really stretch it to where they can get up 4 touchdowns. So I'm with you as well that I think South Carolina with Spencer Rattler there, he's playing out of his mind to start the year. He's playing
like
really well to
dude's
start.
super talented. His thing was his ego. He thought his shit don't stink, and then he got benched for Caleb Williams, and then now he's like, oh, maybe my shit does stink a little, and so but it is what it is.
I think South Carolina shouldn't have an issue covering in Athens. We've got BYU traveling to face an SEC team as well. They've got the Arkansas Razorbacks on the road. Arkansas's 10.5 point favorite. I think that BYU is always one of those teams where they're kind of a weird team to face, especially out of conference. I think that some of this SEC speed might be too much for them to handle. But I think this is another game. This is a game where I think by BYU could potentially backdoor cover. Like it could be like a 16-point lead late, and they get a touchdown in the extra point, and they lose by 9 or something ridiculous like that. I'm taking BYU here
So am
only
I.
because okay, gotcha.
I'm
We're both
not.
on the BYU bandwagon here.
I'm the Razorbacks are always they don't really ever beat anyone up convincingly. I feel like they're always it's always kind of close. BYU always tries to stay competitive. So I think they will be competitive in this game. So
We've got Texas, who currently as it sits would be a playoff team as the number 4 team in the country, off of the like we alluded to earlier, the massive win on the road last week in Tuscaloosa. They're
called it.
playing host to Wyoming. We did. That is true. That is true.
I
Wait,
said I
listen,
think Texas wins the game. Yeah,
that is true.
and they won
You've been on point
convincingly. It
here.
wasn't like a 3 point. It was a 10 point game. Like they won
Which
by
I
10.
mean, not to kind of harper on it, but we also mentioned it in the last video as well, is that if Quinn didn't get hurt last year, like this could have been back-to-back wins for Texas over Alabama. So
So there it
I don't
is.
this
Oof.
I'm taking Wyoming only because I think the emotional high that all the Texas players felt after beating Alabama, they're going to come down and crash a little and come back down to earth. They're not losing this game.
No.
Obviously, I'm not saying this to be like, oh, Texas is on upset alert or whatever, but I mean, they're getting 4 touchdowns to this Wyoming team who played really well week 1, and they're 2-0 on the year so far. They might be able to cover 4 touchdowns just because Texas put so much into last week that they're bound to come back down to earth just a little bit.
I can't bet against Texas right now. I think they're hot. I think they're and I actually kind of agree with you about the high. Like, hey, but you know, it's Wyoming. Like, I'm not gonna.
Listen,
I
I
think
get it.
I think Texas can cover. I think that's a really good line, to make you really hesitate on taking Texas. But I am gonna stick with Texas, and they might not cover. That's one I'm actually okay if they lose because I can understand that one. But I'm gonna roll with it. I took a lot of the big spreads, some of them. So
We come up to our last game of the week, which if I'm not mistaken, this is College Game Day is going to be in Boulder this week. It's going to be a huge deal here in Colorado. They're apparently pulling out all the stops for Dion and the Buffs, who are getting their minus 22.5 playing in-state rival Colorado State. This is not a debate. This isn't close. Colorado State's not very good this year.
who's picking against Coach Prime right now?
Right now, nobody should be. The 21% who are picking Colorado State are alumni. That's it. They're alumni and people who don't like Deion Sanders. That's the only thing I can think. This Colorado offense is so high powered, and the defense starting to come into their own a little bit. Week 1 against TCU, little sluggish, but
shaky.
listen. Last week they were giving that quarterback fits. They were giving that quarterback absolute. Yeah. They were making them nervous, real nervous. They were nervous to the point where they had to bring in Brock Purdy's little brother, Chuba, Chuba,
Shit.
Chuba Purdy
Chubba Purdy.
came in and played quarterback for
Hey,
Nebraska.
that's some white trash trailer park shit right there. I got Brock and Chubba.
That's right. You don't mess with them Purdy boys.
Don't party boys over
I
there.
I don't think this is close. I think I would consider buying points even. Like if
How
I can
much?
get better
Yeah.
odds, if I can get better odds for like Colorado minus like 26 or 27.5, give me it. I'm all for
But
it.
how much did they beat Nebraska by?
They won 36-14.
Yeah, this is even close. That's 22 points right there.
Yeah.
And
And
you're telling me
Nebraska had a lot of
Colorado's
hype on them to start the year with Matt Rule coming in. So
yeah.
no,
And
this one
you
is
think Colorado State does the same thing as Nebraska? Get the fuck out of here.
no
Get him
shot.
out of here.
Absolutely no shot.
Coach Prime. Coach Prime's gonna get his boys ready to play. Like if you're not riding with Coach Prime, I don't want to be on your side.
All right, just to recap our games, we've got Alex and I are both taking Kansas State. Alex has got LSU. I've got Mississippi State. Both taking Penn State here. Both taking Florida State. Both taking Alabama here.
Alabama.
We've got San Diego State as well. South Carolina. Both taking. Pardon me. We're both taking BYU. And then I'm taking Wyoming.
Texas.
Alex is taking Texas. And we're both taking the CU Buffs.
So we're missing. We're different on 2.
Yep, this could be the week where you get back to.
I need a tie.
We got to split. You got to be up 2 here. You got to be great here this week.
Yeah, so I need LSU to do what they're supposed to do and need Texas to win
just
again.
be the brakes off of Wyoming.
I just
need it.
Just make a statement that they're here to stay. Maybe Texas will be back. That's what everyone's saying. Texas is back.
It seems to be that way. We're going to see through the end of the year, but it seems right now Texas might be back.
Also for Trey, maybe those Hard Locks guys, they know stuff. Maybe, just maybe, Trey.
It is interesting to note as well. Maybe we should keep a tracker of this too, because Trey watches. Listen, I love that Vendetta is supporting Vendetta. That's awesome. But for 2 weeks in a row now, he said that some of our picks have been no bueno. He said that South Carolina's beating North Carolina. That was wrong. And then he said Texas Tech was going to beat Oregon. It was going to be a revenge game. And then Oregon back recovered. That was.
And then he was like, "Oh, you can't accept that." And he was like, "That's what fucking losers say." Like, I'm gonna take that.
So the hard lock guys are also 2-0 against Trey, against what he thinks. So maybe we'll keep track of that as well. Alex, do you have any?
I just want to see which one he differs on. Which one do you think he differs on this week? It can't be the LSU one because we differed on that one. Maybe it's the Penn State one.
No, because he likes Alar quite a bit.
Okay. Let's see.
I don't know who it could be. Who could?
Oh, it's Oregon State.
It's Oregon State for
Oregon
sure.
State.
He's gonna tell us that Oregon State's gonna win by 40. I just know it. That's what it is.
Stay tuned. It's gonna be Oregon State. DJU. He's actually gonna draft him again. So.
All right. That's going to be it here from the Hard Locks guys. Week 3 of the college football picks are in the books. Joined every single week by Chickster. I am Garrett Burroughs. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Put a thumbs up on the video if you like the video, and ring that bell so you never miss any more of the content coming out. We're going to see you next week.